Hi, I'm Sean Kokoska, president of Keller and Company. And today we've got a very special guest, Miss Kathryn Caywood. Now, Kathryn is with Young Living, Essential Oils, and she engaged in the One Thing concepts. She enrolled in our teleseminar program and engaged one of our one-on-one coaches. Now, Kathryn's here to share her insights and her thoughts about the coaching programs, the teleseminar program, and the impact that it's had on her life, and specifically speak to the changes that she's made in her own life to increase productivity. Now, at the end of the call, you'll have the chance to do the exact same thing that Kathryn's done, and I just look forward to hearing Kathryn's insights. So, Kathryn, welcome to the call.
Thank you, Sean.
And also we've got Scott with Viral Marketing here, who does all of our web hosting for events just like this so that we can all collaborate together, we can all learn together. And Scott, welcome to the call.
Thank you, Sean. Appreciate it.
You bet. All right, so Kathryn, let's dive into this. Now, let's talk about prior to the One Thing, prior to reading the book, prior to engaging a coach, and let's talk about your productivity specifically. And again, this is prior to engaging. I want you to rate your productivity on a scale from 1 to 10.
Well, I was busy, but being productive and having results from what I was doing, I would call it a 2 or a 3.
Wow. Okay. Now just to give them insight as to what's happened to your life after the One Thing, after the teleseminar series. I understand you've taken it twice, right?
Yes.
And after coaching, how would you rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 now?
Probably an 8 or a 9.
Wow, congratulations. And specifically break it down for us, that change in productivity, what's it done for you personally?
Personally, it changed my life in almost every area, because by asking the focusing question, that is, oh dear, Sean, help me.
That's the one thing I can do.
What's the one thing I can do such that by doing it, everything else becomes either unnecessary or it just falls into place.
Yeah.
For me, I have kind of a stressful life because in addition to a normal life, I also look after my mother who has dementia. And even in that stress, asking that focusing question, what's the one thing I can do? What's that one thing that makes everything else unnecessary or easier? It creates a sense of control, peace, calm. I used to have these to-do lists. They were huge lists of things I needed to do, but they weren't prioritized like the One Thing teaches us to do. So now, after taking this program, I have a success list. I use so many of the principles that are taught in the One Thing. I'm so much more productive. People who are in the Young Living organization with me, I go ahead and teach this to them. They're more focused, more productive. It's life-changing.
It certainly is. Congratulations, Kathryn. And talk to me about the book specifically. What portion of the book impacted you the most?
That would be hard to say. Even in the opening, the idea that you can't chase 2 rabbits and catch either of them. Well, that's kind of where my life was before the book. So I was captivated from the very first. There are a lot of concepts. The concept that, for example, multitasking. One reads so much that that's the way to go. You know, some employers look for employees who are successful in multitasking. Yet I kind of changed my ways there, and now I do one thing at a time. And not only does it get done, I feel much greater satisfaction in doing that one thing, whether it's related to something important in my business or mundane household things. There's greater satisfaction there.
Yes, yes. Now, you took the plunge, meaning you made the decision to invest in yourself, to improve yourself. And frankly, in order to get to better, sometimes we just have to get to different, right? So you decided to hire a coach with Keller and Company, a business coach that focuses on you and the growth of your business. Tell me, what's been the result of that?
Well, in the first month, I should backtrack. I spent I don't know how many years at one level in the Young Living company. And I was spinning my wheels. I had this big to-do list. I was getting nowhere quickly. Within the first month of working with my coach, my income doubled. I advanced to the next level. And each step of the way, my coach is there to guide me. And I can see myself getting to the next level by the end of the year, the next level, maybe the next year. It's been an immense help beyond what I could ever have imagined. And I should add that there are many Young Living coaches out there. There are many aromatherapists out there who have how-to programs. I wanted a coaching situation by a company that was successful the world over. You know, Keller Williams is one of the most effective companies in the world when it comes to real estate. And to think they have a coaching program, I wanted that type of coaching, business coaching. My coach coaches small business CEOs, large business CEOs from all over the world. And because of that, I get that benefit when he coaches me.
That's fantastic. So you've got a team that you manage, that you lead, this downline of people, correct?
Correct.
And talk to me about your ability to lead others on a scale of 1 to 10 prior to coaching, and then a scale of 1 to 10 after coaching.
Well, before I would give it a 2 or 3 because we all have different learning styles, different sharing styles, and just because I like to read and lack the patience to listen to audios, it doesn't mean that other people lack that patience. Now I realize it's very simple, and now I can guide the people in my group, my leaders. They'll tell me a problem they're having. I can give them an answer, direct them, because my coach has already directed me on that regard. So it's a way to pass on this information.
Yes. So you went through the teleseminar series, which is 12 one-hour calls, back to back. So for 3 months you went through it. Then after you graduated the course, you decided to jump back in and take it once again. Why did you do that? I'm curious.
2 reasons. One, I wanted to hear once again the guided imagery that you give on that first call. I just think it is so inspiring. It puts your whole life in perspective. I think that should be available as a separate MP3, MP4 for people because it's so helpful, and it encourages us to seek answers within. The second reason I took it a second time is because, yes, the book is wonderful. It was so inspiring to me. But the last part of the book, it didn't quite sink in as, the last part of the coaching series didn't quite sink in the first time around. I wanted to really hear it again, to own that information. For example, how to create a company culture translated into my organization. How do I create a culture for the people in my Young Living group? A culture that will benefit them, that they'll identify with. How do I, for example, build my business from the inside out? How do I recruit people using the one thing? You know, because in my business, I'm not looking for everyone. I'm looking for the right people. And using one thing principles can help me find the right people, or better said, can help the right people come into my world.
Yes, yes. And I specifically love the last 2 sessions of the teleseminar series where we get to talk about becoming intentional about creating culture within your environment, your organization. It's about clarity around the mission, the vision, the values, beliefs, and perspective of an organization. And when you're clear, you can then cast that vision appropriately and, in essence, become a magnet of talent.
Yes.
Drawing people to you that are going to help you grow your business. And the bottom line is, everybody on this web platform right now, understand that if your business isn't where it could be or should be maybe right now, it's probably due to the fact that you're missing a key relationship. Bottom line is, nobody succeeds alone. No question about that. Yet, at the same time, nobody fails alone either. So the people, your direct reports, it's critical that you've instilled a culture of productivity, of love, of caring, and the only way to do that is to first gain clarity around that mission, vision, values, beliefs, and perspective. So understanding that, Kathryn, how's it impacted your business?
It grows because I no longer have to do everything. When I teach my people these principles, they teach it to their people. I was on the phone yesterday with one of my leaders and sharing with her some of what my coach had taught me, and she says, "Oh, I love that. I've got to teach this to so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so." And it's that way almost every week with my coaching calls. Somehow my coach knows what I need, and that's what my people need.
Wow. Interesting, huh?
Yes, yes. I thank you for selecting just the right coach for me, Sean.
Well, Kathryn, it's all based on the matrix that we have and based on the gaps that might exist in your world and who's really the best fit for you. So it was spot on. Good job, Kathryn. And Kathryn, let me just commend you for a moment for stepping up to coaching. Because you're open to accountability, because you're open to coaching, you're obviously open to extraordinary success in your life and in your business. So again, congratulations.
Thank you.
You bet. So let's dive into the four thieves just for a moment. Now, the first of the four thieves is the inability to say no. So Kathryn, why do you think people struggle with saying no to other people? Talk to me about that.
I struggled with that. I didn't know how to say no, and so I would get frustrated, and it probably benefited no one. But through the One Thing, partially through the book, but even more so through the group coaching calls, I learned about ways to say no that still generate a yes. For example, putting on a private Facebook page questions and answers to the things I get asked very frequently, to the idea that I'll answer emails at a certain time of day. This way I don't get interrupted, because I'll sidetrack a moment. One of the things we learned in the One Thing is that almost a third of our day is gone through interruptions. Mm-hmm. So it's very important to protect that time.
Yeah, so you're referencing the leveraged yes approach, so that you can still give a yes yet keep your no at the same time. So those things that you're interrupted about day in and day out, what system are you lacking? And to me, by the way, a system is simply a standardized process that produces a custom result. Now, Kathryn, you touched on one very important law that we have around here, and that is that we teach people how to treat us. So if you're the type that is constantly clicking send receive so that you can be the first one to respond to an email, well, understand that steals your productivity due to the switch cost associated with that. So rather, as Kathryn suggested, why not have an autoresponder that simply says, I'll be returning emails today between 12 and 12:30, again between 3 and 3:30, and finally between 4:30 and 5. So they can understand that expectation that you're putting forward and truly focus on the one thing that you have to do during your one thing time block. So good job on the leveraged approach, Kathryn. That's fantastic. Now the second thief of the four thieves is the fear of chaos. See, I think that's why people don't necessarily want to say no, right? And at the same time, understanding when you've identified the one thing that you can do and you block out 4 hours a day to do that, to move the needle in your organization, well then everything else around you gains a little steam. The chaos begins to build up, right? The people that are clamoring for your attention, the emails, the voicemails, all of the things on the to-do list, right? Not the success list, the to-do list. Start to gain a little steam. So it causes people to want to counterbalance quickly when working in their business, right? So how do you deal with the fear of chaos, Kathryn, as you go into your one thing time block session? Any strategies you can help our listeners or attendees to this webcast out with?
I'll give you an example, and then I'll give you my strategies. When I prepare a talk to give, I know that my office is going to be a mess. I'm going to have clutter everywhere because I'm going to have reference books and paper everywhere. That's what I go through in order to have an organized presentation. I know that I think better when my desk is clear, when my office is tidy, but I need to do that outside of my one thing time. For example, late afternoon, that is not peak productivity time for me. That's a wonderful time to clear the clutter, prepare for the day, and get rid of the chaos that way.
Yes, good. So recognizing that the chaos, you deal with that in the other bucket of time, right? Because you've got one thing time. That's your first bucket. And you've got another bucket of time, which is everything else time. So when, the moment that you start picking something up, my input to everybody on this call would be, does this belong in my one thing time block? Or does it belong in everything else time? And I'll tell you 9 times out of 10, or at least 80% of the time, it belongs in your everything else time, because we understand that 20% of the activities that we choose to invest time in our businesses yield a minimum of 80% of our results. So what we want to do is take that 20% activities and we want to expand the time that we invest on that. In fact, we encourage you to give 50% of your time to the 20% activities that yield the results in your business. The other 80%, that goes in the everything else time bracket. So good job, Kathryn. Let's talk about poor health habits as the third thief. See, you'd be shocked at how many top-level CEOs and business owners that I get to speak with that unfortunately have forsaken their physical health for business success. And rarely do they make the connection that their physical energy is what's required of them to achieve the extraordinary success. So talk to me about Young Living and specifically what your products do to help people with their health habits.
We're all busy. And one of the quickest, easiest ways I know to get a nice, well-rounded supplement, I view it as a supplement, is an energy drink we have. If I'm busy, I can just pick up one of those. And I can keep going. Or, for example, if I don't have time or want to take time to prepare a breakfast, I'll just have a healthy power meal drink. We have health bars. Those are easy to keep at your desk. Yeah. I like to, for example, put lemon essential oil in my water. I know that alkalinizes my body, and that in turn helps my mind and body in terms of being productive. I like to diffuse certain essential oils which have been proven to help with memory, productivity, and that type of thing.
Love it. Excellent, Kathryn. So, you know, the fourth thief is that the environment doesn't support the goal. Now, it's your physical surroundings as well as the people. They must be in support of the one thing, or the one thing will surely fall. In fact, the people and the environment are the foundation of you accomplishing your one thing. So going through the teleseminar series and the group coaching program, Kathryn, what did you recognize about that fourth thief, or what personal truth did it reveal to you?
This was powerful for me, Sean. I photocopied the diagram, I put it on my bulletin board to think that the people I associate with and the places I go can affect my productivity thing. That was illuminating to me. And so I thought about various people I associate with. Do they support my one thing? And certain people were right on. Other people, I just looked at them in a different way than I ever had before. And places, who would have thought the places could affect your one thing? Or not? And yet, on the other hand, your coach teaches you about places you can go and things you can do and people you can meet that can grow your one thing.
Yeah, pretty amazing. As I said earlier, no one succeeds alone, no doubt about it. And if the person or the place isn't in support of the one thing, well, then let's take a different approach, right, to achieve an extraordinary result. All right, so what other things come to mind that you'd like to share with the people that are in attendance to this webcast? What would you like to share with them, Kathryn? What's on your mind?
Well, one of the things I'd like to share is something you said in the group coaching calls, and that is focus on the path, not the problem. Do you know how many areas of life that impacts, when I do that, it just changes things for me. Just this week, I had a person in my group who was having tremendous personal problems, yet she has a dream. And so I texted her and said, always remember to focus on the path and your dream, comma, not the problem.
Love it.
The gems you pass out, I can pass on to people also.
Yes. So in order to focus on the path, obviously you need a plan. Yeah. So the one thing is about gaining clarity on what it is you desire and the steps to go about achieving it, right? So focusing on the plan, not the problem. See, what I see happen with a lot of people is that they get so entrenched in the day-to-day, they get so bogged down with the problem that that's all they can see. Now, of course, what we focus on expands. When we focus on the problem, well, we get more problems, and it really just sucks the energy right out of our body. At the same time, though, when you've got a plan, well, it pulls you to a future mind space. See, focusing on the problem, you're either in a past or a present mindset, and that can become a very negative environment. So when you've got a plan, though, again, it pulls you to the future mind space. And I've got an old saying that served me really well, and it's, well, the past, it's just the past, right? Yet the future, it's perfect. See, when you're pulled to a future mind space and you have a powerful why beneath you, meaning you understand the purpose, you have a why you're doing what you're doing every day, well, again, that future mind space is always a positive environment, provided you have a plan. So good. I'm so glad you brought that up. Thank you, Kathryn. Love that.
Sean, one of the things in the book and the group coaching program is, how big are you going to think? How big are you going to dream? I realized that before I took this program that I wasn't dreaming very big. I was just muddling through on my day-to-day activities. And now I'm dreaming bigger, and I realize that I want to dream even bigger than this.
Excellent. Excellent. So when you think bigger, what it does is it really changes your trajectory. See, because when you think bigger, it requires bigger relationships. It requires bigger habits. And I think most importantly, it requires bigger actions. Now, F.M. Alexander said that people do not decide their future, they decide their habits, and their habits decide their future. I think that's one of my favorite quotes of all time, because the bottom line is, and Kathryn, I think you'll agree with me, is that yes, consciously we set goals, right? Yet if you believe in what F.M. Alexander said, where we don't decide our future, we decide our habits, and our habits decide our future, we can set all the goals you want consciously. Yet if we're honest with ourselves and authentic with ourselves, I think you'll agree that we tend to set our habits unconsciously. See, the One Thing teleseminar program is really specifically designed to get you consciously aware as to what habit is required for you to achieve extraordinary success, and then applying 66 days to own that habit. What were you going to say, Kathryn?
I love that 66-day challenge and the example of Jerry Seinfeld saying that he did that for 66 days, and he just says don't break the chain as he makes an X over each day that he comes up with a new joke.
Right, right. So it's about habit formation to where it just simply becomes something that you do. You don't even think about it, right? It's just an expectation now that you hold of yourself. Yes. So the 66-day habit tracker, I think, is something that that everybody should really fully engage in. By the way, you can go to theonething.com and go to the resources page, and you can download the 66-day habit tracker for free. Then just print it out, and every day you do what you're supposed to do to own the habit, and you put an X. Now, Kathryn, what happens to your energy when you got 5 or 6 X's strung together?
Oh, your energy, your momentum just increases tremendously the longer you do this.
Yes, no doubt about it. Momentum. I love that word. See, momentum is powerful. I mean, you can take a locomotive going 55 miles an hour, and it can crash through a 5-foot concrete wall reinforced by steel. Yet, you take that same train with no momentum, meaning it's stopped. You can take a 1-inch block and put it underneath the front wheel. It'll never, ever get going. So momentum, it's so powerful. And how you gain momentum, by the way, asking the focusing question, focusing on one thing at a time, and knocking that domino down every single day. creating a geometric progression of growth in your life. So what did Kathryn, understanding this geometric progression of growth, meaning the domino, 2 inches that could knock over a 3-inch domino, can knock over a 4.5-inch domino. By the time it hits the 57th domino, it spans a distance from the Earth to the Moon. What did that analogy do for you in terms of thinking big?
It let me know I could think a lot bigger than I ever had before. And if I started with that first little 2-inch domino, I could, in time, push down the rest of the dominoes. But that's only the first half, Sean. The other half is teaching others to do that.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and in the 5 levels of leadership, John Maxwell, he says, level 1 is positional, meaning you follow me because I've got a title, and you have to, right? Level 2, on the other hand, is about relationship, right? Where you understand the person's why, what kind of car they drive, what kind of car they want to drive, where they live, where do they want to live. Level 3 is very difficult to get to, because from relationship to production, that's a bit of a challenge. So you get them into production, and level 4, by the way, is when you've invested into them, where you've poured into them and you've raised their leadership lid to where then they're taking the information that you've shared with them and they're transferring it down through the organization. Then see, you've increased your influence with them to the point that you've added so much to them, they can now add to other people, and they follow you because of that. Level 5, on the other hand, is, you can't ask for level 5. They have to give it to you. This is when they'll do anything for you. They'll walk through. They'll walk through the door for you if they could, right? Literally through the door or through the wall, because of what you've done for them, what you've done for the organization, what you've done for their family. And that's, I think, where we all want to be, is at that level 5. And when you identify the one thing for those key relationships and you knock that domino down and you form the habit, then it's identifying the next thing. So it's not just one thing, right, Kathryn?
Right.
It's one thing at a time. I love it. Good job.
And that's a realization, Sean. I used to think I could do many things simultaneously, work on multiple goals simultaneously. It makes my life much simpler and much more productive if I work on one primary goal.
Yes. I've talked with so many people. They said, I read the book, and it's like a weight was lifted off my shoulders. It's like it just gave me permission to really narrow my focus to the one thing that's going to produce the results that I'm after. But have you experienced the same thing, same feelings?
Yes, yes.
All right, good.
What I should add also, Sean, is that there are times we fall off the wagon. And when that happens, it's good to know it's okay. That's part of life. I appreciate my coach having that attitude, because he tells me it's not how long you stay in the valley, it's how quickly you get up and get going again. And the way you get going again is asking the one thing question.
There you go. What's the one thing I can do, such that by doing it, everything else will be easier or unnecessary?
Right.
Good job, Kathryn. I love it. So what would you say to the people that are watching this webcast as it relates to the teleseminar series, as it relates to coaching? What advice might you have for them?
I would say read the book, study the book, become inspired by the book. Then don't skip the One Thing group coaching. If you have a business, please take the One Thing group coaching, because the final weeks of that One Thing group coaching seminar are going to cover things that are not covered in the book, and they're going to cover things that you and your coach may not get to immediately. But it's good to be thinking about those things in the back of your mind and be mulling them over so that gradually you will gain clarity over them.
Excellent. Good job. Now, also in the teleseminar series, we get to dive into the proprietary tools that Gary Keller's been using for the last 30 years, such as goal setting to the now, which we outline in the book. Mm-hmm. Yet there are several other tools that we don't outline in the book, such as GPS, stands for Goal, Priority, Strategy. This is a one-page simplistic business plan that's built in priority, meaning gives structure to action. It allows you to identify and line up your dominoes to create a domino run. And then from there, that creates your 411, which is a more granular approach to weekly accountability. And once you identify the actions that must be taken, then you can time block the activities. Understanding how much time it takes to get certain things done, I think, is critical to anybody's success, where you can go to your bunker. You can, now obviously you've stored provisions, you've swept for mines, and you've enlisted support so you can truly focus and be on purpose during that one thing time block session. So I encourage you all to engage in the teleseminar series. Or go to the website, go to theonething.com. We've got many live training events, many of them for free in a location near you. So please go to theonething.com. Click on the events tab and see if we're coming to your city right now. So Kathryn, I just want to thank you for your investment of time with all of us today. Hey, if somebody wanted to reach out to you about Young Living and essential oils, how would they do that?
They could go to my website, essentialoilslifestyles.com, or they could email me, kjcaywood@gmail.com.
All right. Fantastic, Kathryn. Again, I thank you so much for taking your time to improve the lives of the people on this webcast, and I look forward to speaking to you again very soon. For everybody else, be sure to tune in next month. We're going to have another special guest for you as we interview, ideally, Jay Papasan, the co-author of The One Thing. So thank you all very much for your investment of time. Scott, I want to thank you. Is there any questions that came in during our webcast here?
There wasn't. I had some questions, but we can save that for another day.
All right. Fair enough, buddy. Thank you so much for your time.
Sure. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Kathryn. Bye-bye.